Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Wednesday, August 14. In Squiz Kids Today, bets are off for gambling ads, New York's tightrope tribute, a teacher versus bear showdown, and Rayg dances to her own beat. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
Imagine you're settling in to watch Friday night footy with your family, but instead of just enjoying the game, you're hit with ads encouraging you to bet on the match, showing people winning big and making gambling look fun. Does that sound familiar? Well, the Australian government thinks that this is a problem and plans to introduce new laws to protect kids and adults from these ads. They want to ban gambling ads during children's programs and around live sporting events and limit them to just 2 per hour at other times. Some people from all sides of politics, including former Prime Ministers John Howard and Malcolm Turnbull, believe that there should be a total ban on gambling ads. They're concerned because studies show that 75% of kids aged 8 to 6 can name at least one sports betting company. And even more worrying, 25% of kids can name 4 or more. The issue is that gambling can be addictive. Once someone starts, it can be very hard to stop, and they might lose money needed for important things like food and rent. With 2/3 of the Aussie community last year expressing concerns that there are too many gambling ads on TV, we're sure to be hearing more about this in the future. And if this story has raised any concerns for you, we've added a link to Kids Helpline in our episode notes. They're there to help if you need someone to talk to.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in New York City, where performer and tightrope walker Philippe Petit, nearly 75 years old, last week walked a tightrope 6 metres above an audience at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. But that's not the most remarkable part of this story. You see, Philippe's show was commemorating a daring walk that he took 50 years ago, way back in 1974 when he was just 25. Philippe and 3 of his friends illegally snuck onto the roof of the 110-story tall World Trade Center in Manhattan. You may have seen pictures of those towers. They're the ones that were destroyed in the September 11 terrorist attacks in 2001. Philippe and his friends fired an arrow from one roof to the other, strung a cable between the twin towers, which are 40 metres apart from one another, and just after 7 a.m, Philippe stepped out, armed only with a balancing pole, and walked along the wire, sat down on it and even lay down on it 400 metres above the ground. I've added a link to the trailer of a documentary about this event, which is called Man on Wire, in the episode notes. And needless to say, kids, don't try this at home.
Animal Kingdom.
Teachers, have you ever come into school over the holidays to prepare for the next term? If so, spare a thought for an elementary, that's a primary school teacher in California, who was doing some photocopying during term break and returned to her classroom to find a bear eating from her lunchbox. The quick-thinking teacher, Elaine Salmon, yes, her name really is Salmon, immediately shut her classroom door and phoned her husband, a retired police officer, to come and help. Mrs. Salmon then distracted the bear while her husband ducked into the classroom and hid behind the door, holding it open to allow the bear to leave. And the social media savvy Mrs. Salmon filmed the whole thing. And yes, the link is in today's episode notes. Make sure you watch till the end to hear Mr. Salmon growling at the bear.
Squiz Kids salutes.
The Olympics may be over, but we can't move on without saluting one of its true heroes, Australia's very own breakdancer, Rachel Gunn, better known as Rayg. Despite not advancing past the round-robin stage and scoring 0 points, Rayg made a lasting impact with her kangaroo-inspired moves and patriotic tracksuit, becoming one of the most talked-about athletes of the Games. And although some internet trolls tried to bring her down with nasty comments online, Raygun's energy and enthusiasm never wavered. She was later filmed giving a spur-of-the-moment performance for the Australian team when she was carried on the shoulders of a rower, Angus Widdicombe, wowing everybody with her signature moves. There's a link to video of that in today's episode notes. One of the judges of Raygun's performance said, "Breaking is all about originality and bringing something new to the table, and that's exactly what Rayg was doing." Even our Prime Minister gave her a shout-out for having a crack. And remember, it's not about winning. It's about giving your best and being proud of what makes you unique. Rachel Gunn, Squiz Kids salutes you. In the spirit of Rayg and the great Aussie ethos of having a go, we've launched a Book Week costume competition, ladies and gentlemen, looking for the best and the worst Book Week costumes out there in Australia. So, whether you're a craft queen with the glue gun, or really quite rubbish, but still want to celebrate the fact that you had a go, we want to see what you've come up with this Book Week. All you have to do is take a photo of your Book Week outfit and upload it to your mum or dad's Instagram account with the hashtag SquizKids, or by tagging us at SquizKids, and we'll reshare them. And thanks to our friends at Allen & Unwin, we've got some super cool book packs to give away to the best and worst outfits. And teachers, we've got a prize for the best dressed teacher too. Book Week starts on Monday, August 19, but we're taking entries from now until the end of the big event. So, don't just sit there, get busy.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. How many stories tall were the World Trade Center Twin Towers? Well done if you said 110 stories. Question number 2. What did Mrs. Salmon find the bear doing when she returned to her classroom? That's right, the bear was tucking into her lunch. Question number 3. What is the performing name of Australia's Olympic breakdancer Rachel Gunn? Well done if you said Rayg.
Shout-outs.
It's Wednesday, August 14. Today is World Lizard Day, which is pretty awesome. So if you have a lizard or you see one today, give it some love. Also on this day, way back in 1966, NASA's Lunar Orbiter 1 became the first US spacecraft to successfully orbit the moon. A few days later, it captured the first ever photo of Earth from the moon. And if you'd like to take a look at that photo, there's a link to it in the episode notes today. It's also National Creamsicle Day in the United States, and I've also stuck a link to a recipe for a delicious homemade version in your episode notes today. You can thank me later. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Bella from Castle Hill, Emily from Curtin, Xavier from Tennyson, Amelia from Maudsley, Rizla from Waterloo, Harry from Upper Coomera, Liam from Pascoe Vale, and Samantha from Buninyong. And a belated birthday shout-out goes to Jacob from Kyle Bay. And today's classroom shout-outs go to Class KS with Mr. Sipple at Wallara Public School, Class 2D with Mrs. Davey at St. Brendan's Catholic Primary School in Mackay, Class 4KB with Mrs. Berman at Mount View Primary School in Glen Waverley, Class 5D with Mrs. Pryor, and Class 3D with Miss Mitchell at Sheldon College in Brisbane, Class 5-6 with Miss Lukong at Maitland Lutheran School, and Class 4C with Mrs. Sellers at Queen of Apostles Catholic Primary School in Stafford. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au, or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.